Again, thank you everyone. I want to thank ECGC for allowing me to be here and speak in front of all of you. This is really exciting for me. I got a ton of knowledge bombs to drop all over your faces, so this is going to be a lot of fun. My name is Logan Williams, and I'm the founder of a creative communication studio called Indie Wolverine. We're based in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we specialize in guerrilla marketing, which I like to say we specialize in it by default, simply because the first 2 years of us operating, we had a lot of clients come in and say, yeah, we're launching our game on Steam in like a couple weeks, so what can we do? And we had to provide a spark. We had to use creativity to earn attention for them and at least give them a chance while launching on Steam. And over the past, we've been 3 years running now, but over the past 3 years we've had a lot of wins. We've taken teams as small as one person, and we've earned coverage from some of the largest gaming publications in the world. And we've also earned a ton of coverage from some of the largest content creators on YouTube, Twitch, Mixer. But this talk isn't about wins. It's not about all the successes and our wins. I don't want to gloat. So instead, I want to talk about failure, because last year we had a big failure, and I believe failure in life is a very important aspect of growing. And as the slide says, failure is a learning opportunity, which since we failed last year big time, we've learned a lot since then. And I'll tell you very quickly the story of our failure. So I had worked with a VR company. Currently, I'm gonna leave them unnamed. I didn't get a chance to tell them that I was going to do this speech, but it doesn't really matter for the story. But I worked with this VR company, very talented team. From the beginning of their launch on the Steam's an early access title, we handled their marketing and promotions leading up to their launch on Steam. Again, it's an early access title. We handled their whole early access process all the way to the full release. And their early access launch it was stellar. We were picked up by some of the largest gaming outlets, including Kotaku, Destructoid, Rock Paper Shotgun, and also the VR niche sites like Upload VR, VR Focus, so on and so forth. So we earned a lot of attention. And then on top of that, we earned a ton of attention from major YouTubers. So YouTubers that are earning millions of views per video, and we had at least 5 of those. So we earned a ton of attention, but that also converted into a lot of sales. And this is because when it was excellent timing, when we launched on Steam, they were pushing the HTC Vive. This was in the early days of HTC Vive being available. And they gave us a little bit of extra exposure. And the founder of the studio that I was contributing to actually had a contact at Valve, and they helped them out a little bit. So there's a little bit of a nudge. But also our conversion rate on Steam was pretty high. It's pretty good. So sales went great. The launch on the early access was perfect. And throughout our time in early access, we did a great job. The team was very receptive and open to coordinating updates on more of like a 2 to 3 month cycle instead of doing just small, tiny updates every single week, which over time kind of loses value. But so early access went great. I flew out to their studio in April of last year for the final month. At this point, half the studio had started working on another project, the other half of the studio was finishing this project up, and I was there to help them with some producer roles and also help them with marketing and PR and earning attention and having another successful launch from early access to full release. We had very high expectations since the early access launch went so well. And on my end, I did everything that I thought was right. It was things that worked before. We also double dipped. We had, for example, the editor-in-chief at Kotaku publicly stated that this game was his favorite VR title to date. When you get that kind of feedback, we had a lot of positive feedback. We thought, well, this is in the bag. We're just going to reach back out to people that positively covered us before, that's guaranteed coverage. And then we'll reach out to more recent journalists and content creators and earn some more amplification there. And 3 weeks prior to the full release, I'd sent out my first round of outreach. These are emails, reminder emails to people who already had a key, already played the game before, just letting them know, hey, here's a heads up, the game's going to be available in 3 weeks. And then we also reached out to new press, new content creators, letting them know, hey, here's this VR game, we've won awards, it's very positively reviewed. If you'd like a key for review, please let me know. And this is hundreds of emails that I sent out. And after the first round of outreach, I was met with nothing, with virtual silence. I had maybe 2 or 3 people respond, and it wasn't like guaranteed, like, yeah, we're going to review. We'll have a review up on the date that we specified. So that was kind of a red flag. And then roughly a week later, I sent another round of emails out. I heard something's got to be going on. But I adjusted the content that I sent out in the emails. Instead of bogging it down with an embedded GIF, making the messages load a little bit slower, remove the GIF, straight screenshots this time. And still, nothing, silence. I'm tracking all of these emails. I see people are opening them, but they're not replying to me. And then there was finally a third round of emails. And again, there's silence. Everyone around me is super stoked. We got a bunch of programmers and artists, and they're like, we're almost there, it's gonna be wonderful. And I'm in the corner like, oh shit, this might not work out well. I have some red flags going on, and I don't know if I need to alert anybody here. And by the way, I don't know if I said this before, this is my first time working within the studio with the team, working directly with the team. I usually work remote, so this is a great opportunity for me. And it was wonderful because I got to see all of the passion that goes into creating video games. I mean, we were staying late at the end of the days, and this wasn't crunch. We were just staying late because we really enjoyed working together. We all had a lot of fun. And when the game launched, we were met with not a lot of feedback. We had a couple of niche VR sites pick us up, not upload VR, unfortunately. And the game didn't meet sales expectations. And at this point, Steam, the distribution platform, wasn't pushing VR as much as they were when we launched on as an early access to it. So we didn't get that bump there either. So now we're out there with all the other games that are releasing, and all this other competition that's going on. And the game, the expectations, the goals, they weren't met. And then I flew home, and it was disgusting. I felt sick to my stomach, and ever since that, seeing the passion that goes into these games directly, it's kind of put me on a mission, a journey, so to speak, to mitigate the risk that's involved in launching a game on any distribution platform. Mitigating the stress involved when you don't hear anything. And we're going to talk about how we can do that in this talk. So the title of this presentation is Marketing Agreement 2018 and beyond. We're also going to touch on PR and creative communication, but really the goal of this talk is to mitigate risk and stress and increase your chances on launch day to have a successful launch, where you're not like me in a corner like, oh shit, these other guys. Before we get into that, I want to talk about the current state of the market. Many of you probably already know, and a lot of us follow Steam Spy, rest in peace, and this data is readily available to us. Now, you can see here, going back to 2013, all the way to 2017, this slide's focused on Steam. It's not necessarily reflected on the slide here. But we're focusing on Steam, and I want everyone to know if you're working on a mobile title, a console game, whatever it may be, the core components that we'll be talking about later on, it will directly, it's applicable to you as well, so don't worry about that. But as we can see here, the barrier to entry to get on Steam has lowered over the years. At first, I believe it was 2013, maybe a year prior, you really had to know somebody in Valve, or you had to have a friend that knew somebody in Valve. And that's how you could potentially get onto Steam. The good part is if you get on Steam, you get ample amplification. You're on their homepage for 1 week to potentially 2 weeks. Imagine that today, being on the homepage of Steam stuck there for possibly weeks. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you can sell tons and it can still suck. And so, again, the over time, the barrier to entry is lower. First came green light, and then after green light, they lowered it to, bro, you have $100. We'll put you over. It's fine. So we're going to see this trend go up and to the right for the most part, moving forward. Also, another contributor to this is not just Steam's lowering the barrier to entry. This has also contributed to having these amazing tools like Unreal Engine 4 and Unity and CryEngine and GameMaker. Having all these tools that prior to 2014, Unreal Engine, for example, you needed possibly millions of dollars to license that out. You needed lawyers, you needed to go through negotiating to be able to use that engine. It was specifically kind of reserved for AAA studios. But after 2014, it lowered to a $19 a month subscription fee plus 5% royalties per game sold. And now it's just 5% royalties, so it's virtually free to get in there. And you've got access to one of the best tools, one of the best game making tools on the planet that Epic uses today, and it's what they use to create Fortnite. But when you have the barrier to entry into having tools that are amazing in creating games as low as possible, so anybody who has a passion can virtually get into game development right away. I mean, you've got a lot to learn, but you have the best tools in the world to work with. And then on top of that, you have distribution platforms that have lowered the barrier to entry and get on their stores as low as possible. This combination together is leading to an oversaturated market, a very competitive market. And we're just talking about PC games. Mobile games is already in that. So now we get into some good stuff here. And we get into these core components. These are the things that I've been working on ever since that big failure last year in May. And these are things that I believe are going to be important. And on top of that, I believe these things are not timeless, but these are things that are going to be of value for many years to come. This particular core component, community building, will always be important. And I'll get into a couple of articles after this slide. But community building is very important because these are going to be your ambassadors. If you can successfully build a community of people that are excited for your game, that you engage with on a weekly basis, these are the people that on day one, when your game releases, whether it be on Steam or Humble, God, Remake Gaming, itch.io, I might be saying that one. But no matter what platform you launch on, if you have a core community that's there, it can be a small community, it doesn't have to be the largest community, but if you have a core community that's ready to buy your game on day one, they're also going to be there to leave positive reviews. They're also going to be there when specifically on Steam, if you have people in your community threads who are asking questions or potentially being trolls, they're going to be your foot soldiers. They're going to be your ambassadors. They're kind of an extension of your studio, so to speak. If you put the work in to building your community, it's going to pay back, dividends for sure. So I had the opportunity last month to attend GDC and speak with Mike Rose of No More Robots, and I picked his brain with community building, and I was asking him, well, how did you build a very big community on Discord? I've seen a lot of Discords for games, and a lot of them suck. A lot of them have maybe 100 members tops, and they're not very active. You jump on the Discord, you might have 4 people, one of them's just a troll saying really mean things to you when you join for some reason. There's a moderator to stop that. And his answer was an incentive. If you want to grow your community, you need to have an incentive. You have to have a reason. Why am I going to join your Discord? I have so many other Discord channels. I have subreddits that I'm following. I'm all over the place. I'm following Coachella. I got things going on. Why am I going to join your Discord server and be active? So you have to give them incentive. A great incentive, one that we can all use, is an exclusive build of your game, whether it be an early alpha or a beta, whatever that may be. You can give them exclusive access to that build, and that's a good enough incentive to get people in, to get them in the door. Once you get them in the door, that's not the end, that's far from the end, that's actually the beginning. Next step is engagement. You need to be there, or you need to have a team that are in this Discord server or wherever you decide to create this community, whether it be a subreddit or on your website, I mean, wherever it may be, you need to have people that are there, these community managers that are engaging with the community, and then on top of that, you need to come up with some contests, have some fun, have it, make it a place where people join, they feel safe, and you promote various activities on this platform so that they can keep coming back. And finally, and this is the fun part, which is what I really like, is leverage. When you approach partners, potential partners or platforms, if you can say, hey, bro, we got thousands of people on our Discord server. They're super active. They're going to buy a game on day one. You want to partner with us? You want to make action figures? Do you want to do a physical version of our game? Do you want to invest in us? We've got validation right here. Check out our Discord. Also join in because it's really fun. You can do that. So here's some great articles that we're going to go over. And this one in particular, and again, there are links that will be at the end of this, so you don't have to write anything down. There will be links to all of these articles. And if I forget that bit.ly link, someone can remind me. But this article here is titled, What We Can Learn from Indie Fiction Authors. And this is written by Chris Zukowski. I'm actually kind of stoked I said that last name correctly. Chris Zukowski. And in this article, Chris compares the current market, PC gaming market, to the self-publishing, the book, self-publishing of a book, comparing the two. And there are a lot of takeaways in this article, and you should definitely read it and get all those takeaways, but there is one major takeaway that I want to get to, but the comparison is very, very interesting because right now, in 2017, we had over 7,500 games, I believe. The average is 21 games per day if you account for 7 days, which isn't realistic because most games are released on Steam between Monday and Friday, so you're really looking at an average of about 30 games a day that you've got to compete with at any given day. And that sounds like a daunting task. That sounds like that kind of sucks. It can get way worse. And for people who self-publish their own books in the indie science fiction world, you're looking at 100,000 books released a year that you got to compete with. And by the way, the major distribution platform that they use is Amazon. And that's not nearly as friendly, as indie friendly as Steam is. Which is kind of crazy to think about because Steam is not the most indie friendly platform anymore. But just think about that for a moment. We're dealing with 7,500 plus, on here 7,667 games a year we have to compete with, and they've got to compete with 100,000. How do they do that? Well, the one takeaway that I'm going to discuss and move on is building a community. This is what successful self-published authors do. They build a community. They do it through mailing lists, or at least that's the takeaway in this article, is you build a mailing list, and then you keep everyone up to date. But you can have equal, if not greater effects if you just build this community where you are and you're engaging with your community and having fun on a daily basis instead of a mailing list. But you can absolutely do a mailing list as well. But the takeaway here is that you build this community. They're going to be the people that buy the sequels to your book. They're going to buy your new books. They're going to be the people that take your book to book club. They're going to tell their grandma about your book. They're going to share it with their friends and family. They're your foot soldiers. They're your ambassadors. You're not even paying them. They're actually paying you. That's crazy. But that's how it goes in the world of publishing books. Next article, a very recent article. And this one was published on March 29th, so last month on Discord. And this is from Mike Rose, the publisher of No More Robots. And we can read the title here, How We Use Discord to Build a Dream Community for Our Game Descenders. Now, the way that they did this is they heavily used Discord. And again, when I spoke with Mike Rose last month, he was telling me one of the critical things that he did when he first started this Discord. And actually, I can give you a little insight why he started this Discord. He went with Discord because the previous company he worked at had a Discord channel. And that Discord channel didn't do too well. But he wasn't managing it. He was just kind of observing in the background. He was like, wait, I can do that. So he started this Discord channel for descenders. Also, the reason why they did this is because within the publisher-developer relationship, they were bouncing around a lot of features around. They were looking at a bunch of features, and they couldn't figure out which ones should be prioritized. And they thought, well, the best way is let's just build a community and let them kind of guide us before the release. So they built this Discord server out. The incentive was that you had access to exclusive beta access to this game, and there's no other place to get it but this Discord server. On top of that, they had weekly contests. They had a metagame within the Discord server. This is something that they broke up, and when you joined the Discord server, you break you up into 3 teams, and then when you join a team, you have access to a protected channel in the Discord server. So it had a sense of, it gave a sense of competition within Discord, which is really fun. And they did a lot of other things, but basically the core takeaway here is that community building is a big deal. And it's only going to become more valuable as time goes by. I mean, Steam could shut down tomorrow. They won't. But they could shut down tomorrow, and then somebody else is going to pop up, and if they're not giving you the visibility that you need, you can't depend on a distribution platform to give you the visibility that you need. You can't depend on press to cover your game to give you the visibility that you need. And you can't depend solely on content creators as well. If all else fails, you need to have some sort of control, and that control is community. Next up is purposeful and organized communication. You might have heard this before if you've watched some other talks on PR, but essentially, your game, throughout the lifespan of your game, from the moment that you think of the game and then you start jotting down your first rough sketches, you're going to have newsworthy beats along the way. These are things that you can compile together that are newsworthy, that you can promote to, you can send it out to press that you believe will have value, take value from your news. And you compile all of this together, you send out personal emails, you let them know, hey, check this out, this is my new game, it's the next hot shit. Write about it, please. We would like that. So be organized about it, though. This is your ammunition. You don't want to just send out your first screenshots. If it's your first game and you're right out of college, you don't have a lot of leverage. And if the screenshots are really rough, think about it from the writer's perspective. They're trying to delight their audience with really good content, so the audience comes back and shares it and they grow an audience. Because that's how they provide their value at the publication they work at. So give them really good ammunition. Next, be clear. When you send out your organized news beats, you need to be clear with what you want from the person that you're speaking to. Also with call to actions, you want to be very clear with your call to actions. All right? You don't want to just send them a bunch of info and be like, hey, this is cool, right? Can you do something with this, maybe? You want to let them know, hey, this is really cool, I think you're going to like it, and here's a link if you want to learn more about this, and we would really like it if you cover it in a news story. If you would like to interview anyone on the team, please let me know. If you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to ask. But be very clear with what you want from the person you're speaking to. And this applies to anybody you're speaking to, content creator, publisher, anybody you're speaking to. Be clear. Just let them know what the hell you want from them. Goals. Finally, you have to have an end goal. At every step of the way, you have to have an end goal. If you're going to take the time to organize your news beats, which you should, if you're going to take the time to organize your news beats, you need to have an end goal. You don't want to earn coverage. Let's say you're right out of college, right? And you send out your game announcement, and somehow it gets to IGN, and they pick it up. It's like, what? And you're like talking to your mom, you're calling her up, you're like, check this shit out. We made it to IGN, we made it. That's cool, but if there's no end goal there, if you didn't provide the writer, whoever covered that story, if you didn't provide them with next steps for the readers, then if your game's not launching in like a month, you're gone. Your spotlight is gone, your time to shine is gone. People will forget about you. You always have to have an end goal. And that end goal can be, especially early on, hey, by the way, we're going to have an exclusive beta that's only available to people that join our Discord server. The writer will write that because that's a newsworthy sentence. That has a lot of value in that sentence. So they're going to share that too. They're going to make sure that's an article. And that's how you're going to build your community. But you always have to have an end goal. Don't have a moment to shine and then take a step back and be like, all right, I'll be back in like 6 months. Take a step back, but make sure everyone knows before you take that step back. By the way, I have an after party in my house. So they know where to go next. You know what I mean? Next up, and this is most important to me, is empathy. If there are 3 words to take away from this talk, they're communication, empathy, and creativity. If you can remember those key words, moving forward, if you apply that to your marketing, your PR, any creative strategy that you come up with, if you apply effective and efficient communication, empathy, being able to put yourself in the shoes of others, and creativity, you're going to align yourself for success. Now, a great example of how we use empathy is how we communicate with press. So, value for a writer at a publication, whether they're a freelancer or their full-time staff, is to gather an audience. They're creating content. They need to create valuable content that pulls in an audience for the publication that they're writing for. When they pull in that audience, not only are they helping in growing an audience for the publication, but also they're bringing in an audience that will drive up impressions. And those impressions result in advertising revenue. So the publication makes more money. In the bigger audience that they grow, they get to leverage that audience, just like you can leverage your community. They leverage that audience with sponsored content. And they can approach Bungie and be like, hey, we want to do like a Destiny 2, what's Zero up to this week type of deal. You want to pay us? And then you can say, well, we've got all these readers, and it meets your demographics. So that's the, going down the line here, that's the value that the writer has, is they create compelling content. And you need to know that. You need to have empathy for that writer. So when you're reaching out to them, don't reach out to them with just random stuff. Make sure it's newsworthy content. Not only put yourself in the shoes of the writer, but put yourself in the shoes of the audience that are going to be going to that publication to read the article that the writer writes for you. So the people that are going to come to the article, there needs to be some value there. So you're not just looking for amplification, but you're also looking for a conversion rate. You want people that read that article to be stoked. You're like, this is my game. I'm going to wishlist this. I'm going to travel to expos to play this. And that comes with empathy. And this goes, again, empathy goes with everything. You're approaching a publisher, put yourself in their shoes. What's the value to the publisher that you're approaching? What do you want from them? That's cool. What do they need from you? Or what do they want from your game? Same thing with platform holders, potential partners, always use empathy. With your family. Next up, targeted outreach. And this is where we're going to get into some stuff that I think all of you are going to like. This is some cool stuff. Google. Anyone in here use Google? Got some show of hands. People that didn't raise your hand, you're liars. Google's great with targeted outreach, and I'll show you why very soon. Also, Twitter, a great place to build relationships. We all know that. But I'll give you an example of what I mean. Voila Norbert, this is my dude. This is my hidden weapon. If you've been in the SEO game, this is something you've probably been exposed to before, and if you have, good for you. Don't spoil it for others. You get to. Google, advanced search queries. This is just one. We'll get to many. There are links at the end of the slide that show all the advanced search queries. Now check this out. Here's what I did last night in my Airbnb. I put myself in the shoes of someone who's working on a VR product today. So what I want is, I want to get covered by IGN. I want the biggest of the big. So here's the search query, site : domain. So what I'm telling Google is only search for stuff on this domain. Don't give me anything from Upload VR or VR Focus or GameSpot. I only like IGN stuff. Only search that. Plus, and then you have in quotes, VR. You're telling Google exactly what's in these quotes. Search for that on this domain. So it's going to show you results, or articles rather, that include VR in that order exactly. It's not going to pull some dude's name, it's Victor, and say, this is VR on IGN. It's going to pull exactly that. You can do this for games. When you're doing competitive research and you're looking at similar games, and you're trying to find writers that enjoyed those similar games because they're going to have a likelihood of enjoying your game. Well, if that's the case, advanced search queries. I'll hook you up. All right, another thing I want to point out really quickly. You see the top right there, that tools button is clicked? We're getting into a little bit more cool stuff here. So you click on that tools button, and then you can change the date range. Don't go back further than a year, because the industry moves so fast. Writers quit their jobs, they get into politics, some of them, but they bounce around a lot, basically. Okay, so you want to make sure that if you're gonna document a journalist or reporter, writer, or content creator, if you're gonna add them to your press list, they need to be relevant. They need to be up to date. You need to have their up to date information. So what we did here is we put in when you click on tools, you can select date range. You can select previous 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or custom. We did custom here, and we went back as far as March 1st, 2018 to April 17th, which was yesterday. And these are all the results, not all, because there's only 2 on the screenshot, but it shows you all of the results of IGN articles that include VR in them. And it also shows you, see at the second result, you can see review by Caleb. That's a 1.5-star review. I wouldn't send my VR game to Caleb. I don't think he would like it, especially if it's like Crisis on the Planet of Apes. If you have a similarity, avoid that person. Probably not gonna like your game. All right, next up, Twitter. This is something we use all the time. See, there's my Twitter account. It's my logo. It's cool. Girlfriend made it, not me. And so this is pretty cool. Even if you have, and here's a little tip, this is something that we do internally. Even if we have an email address for a journalist, sometimes I don't feel quite confident with just that, with sending them a cold email. So I'll still tweet at them, be like, hey, I really have something that I would like to share with you that I think you'll enjoy. What's the best way I can reach you? Even though I got your email, if you don't reply to me, I'm going to email you. But you do that. And then sometimes, we have 2 examples here. We have one that resulted in a DM right away. And we had a discussion right after that tweet. And we locked down some coverage on their podcast and potential partnerships in the future. And that happened real time right away, within minutes. The other one, we got their email. Sometimes you just can't get their email. While on Orbit, it doesn't work for you for some reason. It's magic, it doesn't work for some reason. So go get that email. And the response rate, by the way, is really, really freaking high for some reason. I think it's because it's like public domain, and when someone tweets at you, you kind of feel this little obligation to respond to them. And so you're kind of taking advantage of that a little bit. But do it. Take advantage of it. By the way, it's not in this talk, it's not in this presentation, but I do want to point this out. If you have any cringe, get rid of it. Inner cringe is the bomb. Ask anybody anything. If you want a partnership, potential partnership, if you want free stuff, if you want to ask a platform like Steam, if you somehow get a contact there, if you want to ask them, hey, is there anything you can do to do something? Do it. I mean, even if it says clearly in their rules and guidelines that they won't, still ask. The worst they can say is, sorry, man. Always ask. My grandpa told me that early in life. You won't receive anything if you don't ask. Ask everybody everything. While I'm over, if you can't get an email address and the person you're trying to reach is not on Twitter, that sucks. But while on Norbert can hook you up. I don't know how it finds email addresses, but it's crazy. And you can see here, there's my email address. I'm not hiding that. Want to email me? Send me an email. That's cool. But while on Norbert is free for the first 50 polls. And these are successful polls. So if it tries to pull an email address and it doesn't count against your 50. You just put in the first and last name of the person you're trying to get their email, and then the domain. So we can put in IGN.com and the writer's first and last name and see if it would pull it. More than likely it will. Another thing, you get 50 polls. Once you max it, they charge you money. You can just create another Gmail account, jump right back in there, you're good to go. Little tip. Next up, we got some really cool stuff now. This is the stuff we specialize in, so I'm super stoked about these slides. Creativity. Again, communication, empathy, creativity. Remember that. If all else, remember that in this talk. Now, I'm going to give you a guerrilla marketing case study that we did. Not because I'm gloating, I promise you. I'm just doing it because I believe it shows off the best aspects of a guerrilla marketing campaign and the reasoning behind it and some other cool stuff. So let's get into it. This case study is for a game called Polygon. Now, Polygon was created by a solo developer in South Africa. His name is Dominic. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm not going to butcher it. Dominic's a really cool dude. And he reached out to me, I'm going to say roughly 2 months prior to launch. I look back a while back, but I forgot. But it was genuinely like roughly 2 months, all right? Now, that's not a lot of time. And he reached out to me and said, hey, I got this cool game. It's inspired by games like Risk of Rain, Binding of Isaac. It's a roguelike, procedurally generated. A lot of different combinations with weapons and whatnot. Every time you jump in, different level, you know, and different enemies and things of that sort. It's a very cool concept. The problem was he didn't have a website, he didn't have an online presence, he didn't have a press list, didn't have a press kit, didn't have anything at all. He had a game, which is cool. And normally we would say, I don't think we should take your money because this is going to be really tough. You haven't done anything. But I played the game, I had a lot of fun. I couldn't get past the first level because I suck at games. And I emailed Dominic and I said, man, this game's too hard. You're just going to have to make it easier. And he just sent me back, get good. So I didn't. I still suck. So I knew going into this, we're going to have to get creative. Because if we just do the bare bones, put together a press release, put together a press list, even if it's targeted, you know, there's no community here. There's no online presence. Nobody knows this thing exists outside of South Africa. So we've got to provide a spark for the launch. Now, we packaged together a few news beats. We had the official game announcement, the release date announcement, and then the release day. So at least we had in our pocket 3 guaranteed news beats. That's fine. That's not enough though. And we knew that. This game is launching on early access. It's kind of a rough state. So if we send this off to journalists when they play it, they're going to see how rough it is. They might take a pass. So we had to take it out of their hands and get really creative. And when again, going back to when I originally spoke with Dominic, he let me know that Risk of Rain, Binding of Isaac, heavily, you know, took some inspirations from those games that he loves. So I started thinking, damn, Binding of Isaac has a huge community, and they're still active today. And there's a lot of content creators that play that game on the reg. There's a lot of publications that cover this game. It's widely successful. That's our target market. This game's really hard. If I play this game, if I was a consumer and I played this game without partnering with Dominic and he asked me what he could pay me for it, I said, nope, not at all. It's too hard for me, bro. So I knew our target market are going to be the people that play the Binding of Isaac and love it. Not just the people that have played it before, but people who play it and try to meet the hardest achievements in that game. There's some ridiculously hard achievements in that game. And so we made a campaign off of that. But real quick, we'll go over what we did. You don't have to read all that text. It's actually comes straight off the website. So if you want to go to my website and see the full case study, it's there. Not a selfish plug. So we put together a website for them using the magic of WordPress. We were able to get that up very quickly. We put together a press kit for them. We put together a press list for them using Google Sheets and targeted outreach. We utilized various search queries to pull these people. And we used some other tools as well, but I can't go over all of them for this talk. I'm just going for that. But we put together a press list for them. Next up is Binding of Isaac marketing campaign. It's an oldie but a goodie. Again, I believe this is our first guerrilla marketing campaign that we did. I think it was within our first year. Now, I wanted word association with Binding of Isaac. I knew that's the headline. You know, if you own the Binding of Isaac, and you meet certain achievements, you get this game for free. That's the headline. That's got value. That I put myself in the shoes of the writers, and I knew if they write that, their audience is going to click on that because they want to see if they can get a free game. That's a lot of value. We had to put a time limit on it. So the campaign kicked off on launch day and it ran through a week, 1 week. That's it. So the campaign structure was, if you had met certain achievements in the Binding of Isaac, these are the 1% of all owners of the Binding of Isaac or less. Because you can get that data on Steam, and that's where we got it. 1% of the owners of Binding of Isaac or less, those achievements, all of those are the ones that we're targeting. Because those are the players that are hardcore of the hardcore. And they're going to be the ones that are going to play this and beat the hell out of it really quick. They're not even going to do, a big deal. They're good. They got good. And so we put together this campaign, and I launched the press release the day of the launch, and I sent out a bunch of emails, hundreds of emails, content creators, press, and the results were pretty staggering. Within that week, we had 1,800 plus key requests. Dominic was pissed. I woke up on the second day after the first day had passed, and I had a bunch of F-bombs in my Skype inbox. So I can't work on the game. I've got too many messages. People are requesting keys. I can't do anything. And I was like, man, it's only 7 days. Just weather it out. We'll be good. So we earned coverage, mass coverage on the first day. It kicked off with Eurogamer, and then it snowballed. We were picked up by GameSpot, Destructoid, Kotaku, Rock Paper Shotgun. Basically all the large major gaming publications aside from IGN got away. But it was picked up heavily. And I also wanted to tweet at, I believe it's Edwin, the creator of Binding of Isaac, but I thought, he might not like this, that we're doing this. So I just didn't. I wasn't going to do that and then have him say, nah, dude, you got to pull that. Because I would. I'm nice. Maybe. And again, we had a bunch of attention. But here's the really cool thing that happened that we didn't plan for. We had people that followed these influencers like Northern Lion that lifted up the Binding of Isaac originally and brought it into being a successful game. Their community found out about this through the major gaming websites and subreddits and other places that are shared. And they would tweet at these content creators and be like, yo, did you see this game? Did you hear about this game? It's free for people that have met certain achievements in Binding of Isaac. You should check it out. So indirectly, we're getting in front of these major content creators that we wouldn't have gotten in front of if we just sent them a message and be like, oh, whatever, it looks like crap. But we got in front of them, and some of them picked it up. It's great. Now, I put this mind map together for you. If you have any issues with being creative and thinking outside the box, I know mental blocks exist. I get them all the time. My brain goes white. I forget words like beat. And the creative process through mind mapping, I actually one day sat down and I had like this moment, this epiphany, and I was like, Michelle, my girlfriend, by the way. Michelle, I think I can visualize how I can come up with these creative ideas. And I was writing it out. And then she checked it out and she's like, you're stupid, and walked away. So, but the main takeaway is like a month later, or a few weeks later, I looked online and I found out this is actually a thing called mind mapping. I was like, damn it, I was a pioneer. And here's the deal. This is actually a game that we recently had another creative campaign for. The game is called Imperative. It's on Steam. It's in early access. And it's a sci-fi action RPG. Think Diablo, but sci-fi futuristic. And, excuse me. Gross. We worked with this developer after they launched out of early access. They only have a few reviews, a couple. They didn't take advantage of their news beats. They didn't organize their news beats. They didn't earn a lot of attention. They did kind of like a silent early access launch, which a lot of people try to do. Don't know why. Don't do that. But that's what they did. So we had to inject a spark into this game. We didn't let people know this exists. This is cool. So this isn't exactly how I did it, but if I were to do it again and have to write it out and illustrate the process, this is exactly what I would have done. So Paradigm, you can see here, and you can do this with your game. All you have to do is put in, genres, features, any keywords that you can associate with your game. You can have your game in the middle and somehow branch out to shampoo. Find a way to connect those two together, because shampoo, if you branch all the way out, you can somehow tangle it back with spiderweb to your game, if it makes sense. And that might happen for like a bathing game or something. You can branch it out to shampoo. But the idea with the mind mapping is that you always can stem it back to the game. So there's always some way to make it stay on theme, stay on topic. And sometimes you can really get some cool ideas out of this. So here's what we did. Within Paradigm, I went with futuristic. It's a futuristic sci-fi game. Next step was, well, I hear a lot about cryptocurrency now. That's futuristic, I guess. And I was like, well, Bitcoin's the most popular one. I used to gamble Bitcoin, by the way. Lost a lot of money. And so I approached the developer and I asked the developer, Andrew, how hard would it be if I could give you an API that pulls the real-time value of Bitcoin to implement a game mode, a difficulty mode on your game that scales the loot drops and difficulty of enemies based off of the real-time value adjustments of Bitcoin? He was like, I don't know, send me the API. So I sent it to him, and he was like, we can do that in like a day. I was like, does that stall anything? He's like, no, it's good. So we did that, and it took no time at all for the developer to do that. We don't normally do this. Normally, our creative campaigns are outside of the scope of the developer doing anything. We don't want developers, we don't want them to have to do anything extra. We don't want to mess up their timeline, their to-do list. We don't want to get into any of that. But this time, there was an exception simply because they said it was okay. So we implemented this mode called the Bitcoin difficulty level, or difficulty level. So every day you log in, if you select Bitcoin mode, your experience is going to be drastically different simply because the value of it rises and drops so dramatically every day. Yes?
So since the price of Bitcoin went to shit, does that mean the loot drops are also bad?
Loot drops drop almost down to nothing, but enemies also, their difficulty level drops almost to nothing. It makes the game a cakewalk, but you don't get really cool loot. So, and we're going to implement more things with that. And those are the two main things that scale the value of Bitcoin. And I'm going to tie all this together. This is going to be cool. I hope you're ready for this mind explosion. So, going back to targeted outreach, I found the writer at Forbes that covers cryptocurrency and video games. All right. I did advanced search queries to find the perfect writer, and this was my dude. All right. If anyone's going to enjoy a Bitcoin injected mode into a video game, this is my man. And I didn't send him an email. I went on Forbes. There's a direct messaging system on Forbes. It's kind of clunky and it sucks, but I used that instead because I assumed a lot of people are going to try to do his email. This is an alternative way to confront him. Sent him an email. Within a couple hours, he had the story up for me. And then another Forbes article was produced the same day. We had two. It was weird. It was exciting. Two different authors, or two different writers. I don't think their intercommunication is that good. They both cover the same thing. But there was a snowball effect. We had other publications cover this news. It started with Forbes. If you start with a big one, sometimes you get a snowball effect, especially Eurogamer. You're going to get a snowball effect. But we got it from Forbes. And the cool thing is, Eric is genuinely interested in cryptocurrency. Eric is genuinely interested in video games. This is something that excites him. And when he writes an article about this, it's not just a copy-paste job. This is something that he's enthusiastic about. And that jumps off page. When you're reading an article, you can tell the difference between, all right, just give me a press release, and, oh, this writer is excited. And that's the word I'm thinking of is infectious. I'm not good with words, but it's something that when you read, if you can read an article and tell that they're excited about the game, it gets you excited. And that's what this did. So that injected, really quickly, 1 day of work. It probably took them like an hour tops. Probably drinking coffee at the same time, probably did this one hand. And that's the results. It's low. The thing about guerrilla marketing is it's high risk, high reward, but it's usually low cost or no cost, which is kind of the holy grail of indie games. Be very creative, but use the combination of empathy, targeted outreach, and creativity in your guerrilla marketing campaigns. And you always have to have some sort of value there. But you do that, and then more times than not, you can earn some really good coverage and provide a spark into your game before it launches. Now, that's it. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate everyone showing up. This was awesome. I have one last slide here. This is all the links to all the articles. I think you should all read them. And also the bit.ly link. This link is wrong. I'm going to give you the real one. All right. I didn't know it was case sensitive, so I hope you're ready. I don't know what's in this browser. All right. So write down bit.ly/ VGM. VGM is all caps. VGM is all caps. Marketing, lowercase, 2018. That's it. You get that, and you're going to get all the slides presented today with all of the links to the original articles. That's all I got. I don't know if I have, looks like I've got a little bit of time here. If anyone has any questions, please fire away, sir or Amy.
All you guys did the website. Would you recommend a website for the company, a website for the game, Facebook page for the company, or Facebook page for the game?
So what we did, and this is what I recommend unanimously across the board, is company website, game is on the company website. Game has its own landing page. This is the landing page that you send people to. Optimize that landing page so it converts people down into some sort of action you want them to take. Whether it's to wish list your game or buy your game, whatever it may be, you need to have a funnel. Again, this goes back to having an end goal. You need to have an end goal with every form of marketing. So you have your games page set up, funnel them to do something. You, sir.
So if you're going to be making a Discord for like that exclusive content, like early access builds and things of that nature, should you be worried at all about the people that enter those Discords distributing that outside of that Discord?
I would make it a rule. Please don't do this. If they do, just boot them. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's a great question, but me personally, if someone's going to leak an early beta build, not a lot of people are probably going to play it outside of the Discord. They're going to want that final build.
Okay.
You know, Pirate Bay, they don't want to pay after that. But yeah, so again, make it a rule. And just let them know if you distribute this build outside of the Discord, you're gone. Anyone else? You, sir.
On a long-term goal, like on Discord, is it better to actually have your games separated on different channels, or just have like one main channel?
Separate them. Separate them. You can cross-promote them. So when you have a new game coming out, you can say, hey guys, by the way, we got this new game, this new Discord server. We'd love to have you, but keep them separated because you want to keep the communication clear. On your Discord server, if you're talking about one game, you want to share updates related to that game, you want to share builds, you want to have your contest. All of it has to relate to that one game. Keep it focused because you're going to have different people in your audience are going to be interested in different types of games, and if they're in your Discord server for like Descenders, an extreme mountain biking game, and then your next game is like an RPG. They might not care. Anyone else have any questions for me? You, sir?
Is there like a preferred time to start your marketing? Like, you wouldn't want to do it, like you said earlier, 6 months out, and then people forget about it. Like, probably don't wait till March to get here, so what's the middle road there?
That's a common question. That's a good question. I get asked a lot. When should I start promoting my game? I think you should start promoting your game when it's presentable. That it varies per game. It really varies per game. But when it's in presentable state, or it looks cool, and you can push. You need to double down on the value of your game. So whatever it may be, if it's really hardcore and it involves kicking in doors and shotgunning people in the face, show that front and center, screenshots, gameplay gifs. You got to double down on what's awesome about it. And once you get to the point to where you can show that off when it's presentable, do it. Announce it. So there's no 6 months or 3 months. There's no firm timetables. Just whenever you believe your game is presentable. Again, put yourself in the shoes of a journalist and a customer, and think, if I were a customer and I saw this, would I think it's cool? That's a pretty good inner question to have. Yes, sir.
So, what if you don't have a release date set in mind and you want to present it? Is that bad?
Oh no! You can present your game as early as, again, when you have your first screenshots and gameplay video. If your game looks cool, even if it's not anywhere near the scope of what it's going to be, if the core fundamentals of what you're trying to create is there and it looks cool, and you already have some sort of value proposition and pitch, share it to the world, let people know. But again, think of yourself as a customer and think of yourself as a journalist. Does it look cool enough, or does it meet the value proposition that you're trying to push well enough to talk about? Yeah.
So, because of all the oversaturation of games like in Steam and on console, do you think maybe itching or kind of new kind of ways that people would get found easier?
That's a good question. So my view on this is going to be a little bit different from a lot of other marketing professionals' views. A lot of people will probably say, look at data, analyze data, see what's hot, what genres are hot, work on a game that's within that genre, put your spin on it, try to cash in. I think that's bullshit. I think you need to create a game that you're passionate about. If that's a niche game, create that. But if you want to create the best chess game ever, that's super crazy, hardcore. Do it. Create the game that you want to create. That's the benefit of being an indie. Is you have all control. There's going to be a pocket of people, no matter what you create, that are going to be interested in your game. And if it's a passion-fueled game, more than likely that game is going to be good in some way or another. It's going to have some sort of fun in it. So create whatever the hell you want to create. Anyone else? All right. Sorry. I can say that last bit.
Where your timeline is so small that you don't have enough time to build up.
So yeah, that it happens, right? You get really close to your launch date, and you don't have a community built up, and you don't have enough time to really build up that core community. Get creative. Again, put yourself in the shoes of journalists and content creators, people that are going to amplify your message. Put yourself in their shoes. You need to earn your keep. And if you don't have a community, you're on shaky grounds, because now you're starting to rely on other people. But you got to play the cards that you're dealt, and you got to get creative, think outside of the box. Also organize your normal news beats. I've had success just promoting a demo before launch, putting together a simple demo, setting that out. PC Gamer covered it, and it was good coverage. It didn't result into a very high conversion rate, but it earned coverage. And really all you can do is organize your newsworthy ammunition that you have, and then manufacture new news beats that don't exist through guerrilla marketing or just creative communication. Organize it, and that's really the best you can do. And also be targeted. Make sure that you're reaching out to journalists and content creators you genuinely believe through research that they're going to like your game. All you need is one. All you need is like a Eurogamer. You need one writer from Eurogamer to cover your game, or IGN, and it'll snowball. And YouTubers, they look at major gaming sites like IGN, and they might pick it up. So there's a lot of indirect results that can happen. It all really starts with one. So be very thorough with your targeted outreach, or your targeted research rather, and find the best people for your game. Any more questions here? I'm a load of knowledge. You can pick my brain. Yes, sir.
So
let's say you released a game, but you weren't a marketer, you didn't really know anything about marketing at all.
Sure.
And maybe a few people played it, but most people have never heard of it before. The game's already released, already done.
Yep.
Do you still have a chance to have a big launch, even though with a marketing campaign, even though it's already been released and basically done, but you just never took that step of really marketing it?
That's another good question. So for those of you that couldn't hear, I bet you all heard about I'll say it. Basically, he's asking if you launch your game and you don't earn a lot of coverage, you don't really put a lot of effort in marketing your game, but you launch it, you only have a couple people buy your game, you have a very small amount of people buy your game and play it, you still have an opportunity to have a big release, some sort of big announcement. That's another great question. Yes, you can, but it really depends on how far away was your launch. If it's been months, journalists just they'll look at your Steam page and they'll see this game's been out for months. Why am I going to cover it? If they weren't able to attract an audience, why am I going to cover it and show it to my audience? Because they're probably not going to care. So, but if your game's within a few weeks, put together a press release, put together your press list, put together, reach out to content creators. Content creators are actually better for this because they're not really interested in the is it hot aspect types of things. They're really just interested in, is this entertainment? Is this going to entertain my audience? So they might be a better avenue for you. But yes, you absolutely can. If you announce a game, and also in PR, if you have an announcement and you get nothing back, do it again, because technically it still doesn't exist. Just do it again. But yeah, for your position, I would recommend content creators again, and I would reach out to them on also Twitter. You can call them out on Twitter and say, hey, at Northern Line, we're working on this game. We think you really enjoy it. Would it be okay if we send you a copy? And you'll either get a yes, no, or silence, but if you get a yes, you're good to go. That's all you need. So do your targeted outreach, or do your research. Use advanced search queries. There's also a website, I wish I linked to it in the slide, that will you can use to find Twitch streamers, and it segments them. It shows what games they covered. I'll tweet it out after this event. I'm going to update this bit.ly link, and I'll also tweet out the website. Very useful website. Makes it very easy to find Twitch streamers in particular. But also, when you're reaching out to Twitch streamers, if we're going to use empathy and put ourselves in their shoes, what they want is a Steam key. So make that bold, make the text larger so they can't miss it. Make sure you have a GIF. If your game's action-packed, especially, make sure you got a GIF in there. When you're reaching out to press, you don't necessarily need a GIF because that's not the big thing for them. What they want is a short, concise email that's they can read through very quickly, and they can see if there's a hook there, if there's a story there, if there's something newsworthy there. They'll continue to read, give them one link, make it very focused, so they can learn more about your game, and then at the very bottom, give them a clear call to action of what you want them to actually do. But for content creators, again, if we're putting ourselves in their shoes, they want a Steam key to play the game right away. They want to know if the game is exciting, so if you can show that in a GIF, do it, upload it. Make sure it's under 5 megabytes. Embed it in the email so we can see it. And then, again, clear call to action. Let them know. We would love it if you play our game. And if you decide to put together a video or stream it, please let us know because we'd like to tweet it out to our followers. And if you have a big following on Twitter or Discord, that's great because you can use that as leverage. So we've got thousands of followers on our Discord channel. We would love, whenever you decide to cover a game, if you do so, please let us know beforehand, and we'll let our audience know. Here's our numbers. Yes, sir.
So the game I'm working on right now is really content driven, and so we've been thinking it might be better for us to release it several times through the course of like an episodic kind of release.
Okay.
And so wondering, what are your thoughts on episodic releases? Is that better to have more beats like that, or would it be better to build it up and have one bigger beat?
It really depends. Are you releasing episodic content because you can't afford to release all of it at once, and you're looking to generate some revenue early with the first episode to help you out throughout the rest of the content?
I think we could do it either way from
Okay.
a budget perspective.
So episodic content, I mean, it really depends. I've worked on two, actually one didn't end up happening. One's going to be a Kickstarter, but I worked on one episodic game, and it didn't do very well the first episode, which made it very hard to push the second episode. But the cool thing is you can do bundles. Bundles are great because you can promote value. So even if people haven't purchased that first game, you can bundle them all up and have your Game of the Year edition, or whatever you want to call it, edition, and then sell that at a value price. Also, by the way, I didn't include this in the slides, this is actually pretty sad for your answer, so I apologize. But basically, to answer you directly, episodic content, depending on how you position it and how you sell it, you can't have value if you do straight episodes versus doing one full game, because you do have value in bundling together and selling at a discount rate. And if your first episode goes great, that's awesome. And then you can build a community there too. That's cool, because you can have a lot of fun within the community with an episodic game, because at the end if you have a cliffhanger, you got some stuff that people can debate about within the community, so that's really fun stuff. But also, what was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, on Steam and other distribution platforms, there's low-hanging fruit with your game. If you have a soundtrack, you have the rights to it, bundle it. If you have a bunch of artwork, a bunch of JPEGs and vectors, I don't know graphics, but you got all this artwork that's been put together and it's all beautiful. And you have a great artist in the team. Package that all together in a PDF, and that's your artwork for your game. Put it together, make it a package deal. You know, you can do the official full version edition that includes the soundtrack and the full digital art book. It's all digital. You don't have to actually print the art book out. You can, that's kind of cool. But it's all digital. And it's all kind of low-hanging fruit if you have access to it. Take advantage of what you have at your disposal, and then you can provide value. If someone's really into your game and they see, oh, there's a really full version that has a soundtrack included, it's got an art book included, it's only like $1 or $2 more, I'm gonna buy that. It's low-hanging fruit. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's like a two-part. What made you decide to get into marketing and promoting, and what is like, you're like, yes, that's it. That was a good one. What that?
So, the story is actually pretty fun, and it starts with Ruby Tuesday. I had a job at Ruby Tuesday as a busser, and I sucked really bad at it. And I eventually got a job at a web development company as a front-end web development intern. And so I was like, peace. I left Ruby Tuesday, and they were going to fire me anyways. And I was working at this company, this web development company, and while I was there for the 6 months, they taught me front-end web development, which is great now, because now I can build easy sites. I don't have to use WordPress. I can just build them out with whatever CMS, use Drupal or whatever. But I sucked at front-end web development for 6 months. It didn't really come together until like the 7th month, but they were like, we gave you 6 months, man, but we like your personality. We're going to expand, and we have this whole marketing department. So if you want to have a job, be an account manager or webmaster, I was like, all right, that's cool. I don't want to go back to Ruby Tuesday. So I did that, and then I was introduced into search engine optimization. And I fell in love with that. And the reason why I fell in love with that is because the first resource they pointed me to was at the time called SEO Moz. It's now Moz. And I'm a big fan of Rand Fishkin. He pushes empathy. It's one of his core values. And he seems like a great guy. I haven't met him, but he's well dressed as well. And he teaches a lot. He's all about giving. When he learns something, he teaches it because he doesn't work for Friday. That's what I try to do myself. When I learn something, I try to share it. There's no reason not to hide successful stuff that's working for you. Share it. This market's too oversaturated and hide stuff. There's enough money to go around. So I did that for a few years, and I was promoted to the marketing manager at this web development company, and I was doing marketing campaigns for used car dealerships and dental offices. And I hated it. It was like creativity soul sucking, and I ended up getting let go for a conflict of interest. I started another business and they let me go. But regardless, I was going to leave anyways. I was very bummed out and didn't really want to put together these campaigns anymore. And I went to another marketing agency and was a marketing manager there. And I bounced around a bit and just trying to find my way. And then one day I quit my job at an advertising agency. And I was at home at my desk, and I was like, man, I'm probably going to be broke for the rest of my life. This sucks. And then I started thinking, well, what makes me happy? You know? And I looked over my Xbox. I was like, well, that makes me happy. I've played games my whole life. I had a Sega Saturn. Love it. And I was like, well, how can I put the two together? And then I was like, oh, I can market video games. And I reached out to BitMonster Games here in Raleigh. Acess Games senior employees, they formed a company called BitMonster Games. I sent them a really long-winded email and said, hey, I would love to do some spec work if you like it. Maybe we can talk about working together on a long-term basis. They love the spec work. And
So what is like a home run and
Home Run was the Polygon campaign. When I put together a campaign and Eurogamer and GameSpot picked it up, I was like, whoa, this is some legit stuff. Because I always thought there was magic behind the scenes. Like I could meet him in an alley and give him an envelope and hope that, here, I gave you enough money, sir, write the article. Yeah, but it's not like that. It's not like that at all. And that was a very eye-opening moment, very exciting. Yes, ma'am.
This might be a very specific question, but my team works on, we use game technology to do architectural visualization.
Yep.
And sell houses.
Yep.
And to promote our software with these strategies really work as well.
So, I would say absolutely. The community building part, maybe not so much. But the targeted outreach, absolutely. Also, put yourself in the shoes, again, empathy goes a long way in marketing and PR. Use empathy and put yourself in the shoes of your potential customers. What are they looking for? What value are you providing them? And then who are the people that speak to them? In games, we have YouTubers, Twitch streamers, mixers, podcasts, and we have all sorts of people that speak to our audience. Who speak to them? What blogs do they go to? What social media sites do they use? Find all of this information. Empathize with your customers and provide your value. But you have to conduct a lot of research and really break this out. Is that a good answer?
No, I'm just wondering if it would be interesting to market and show game technology, the limits of game technology will be to games.
Can you ask it in full one more time so I can just kind of grasp it?
All right. So the software is you're in a house.
Okay.
And you pick your finishes and you go to the house and it's like using game technology to customize your house.
Okay.
But it's a really cool use of game technology.
Yep.
Would it be something that, say, the website would be interested in as a show?
Sure, there are technology websites. You have to find the right sites, right? So if you're showing off new stuff that hasn't really been seen before, look for writers that cover technology and gaming. So they're covering new technology, how it's being used in gaming. You can do that through your advanced search queries. Again, try to find the perfect pairings because they're going to be interested. There absolutely is an interest, especially if you're using gaming technology to show this off. Absolutely. Find the perfect writers for you, the perfect matches. Again, using advanced search queries. Check out various tech blogs. There's probably subreddits that are great places to go. But you want to find the perfect match of people that cover gaming, but also cover like on the cusp technology or unique ways to use gaming tools within your realm. So that's the best answer I can give on the fly for you. Anybody else? We all good to go?